is, you mentioned it also, is if people eat very quickly or if they eat very late. So I wanted to just reflect on those two angles to gut health, is the circadian clock, right? If you're looking for gut health, please be aware of the fact that there is a circadian rhythm. Our body's digestion was programmed based on the sunrise and sunset. And people who say they don't pass motions in a satisfying way, a lot of them I've seen have circadian rhythm or body clock disorders, where they have artificial light when they wake up, and they live in artificial light, and they go to sleep with artificial light, and there's no sunrise or sunset happening for their brain.
Yeah.
And that can throw off your gut. Is you don't even know when you're supposed to have your bowel movements happen or not. And most of us are fussy about where we poop. We don't like to poop in somebody else's bathroom. And my explanation for this is none of us remember being potty trained, right? When it was before the age of 3 or 4 that we got out of our diapers. And it was before we could even form memories. So our relationship with pooping has happened before we could even consciously think about it. So it's a very primal thing that we've established. A relationship with pooping is super primal. And there's a lot of body clock elements in that. And the other thing I would want to touch on is mindful eating, where you're putting food into this black box and something comes out. And I think we all have this epidemic of mindless eating. We either eat quickly and we may be swallowing air. I've seen that, where just gulping large mouthfuls of food, you're swallowing air, and people get large burps after a meal, which I think is the air that they swallowed and the stomach is just expelling it out. Or we watch gadgets while we eat. And instead of having meals be bonding time, relationship time, emotional, social time, and we call food a social tool, but we don't always use it socially these days when we're doing it with multitasking and stress. And, as I was reading up again before today's talk, I saw something that maybe it wasn't there in the textbook 20 years ago, but I saw it this last night. And I don't know if people know this, but the gastric acid response to food is more robust when it's food you like.
Yeah, this is true.
Versus if it's food you don't like. And this is like literally hitting me on the face, because I have some people who are trying to get protein to target like this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm eating tofu, but I hate it.
Sure. It's like torturing yourself, right?
Yeah. And, so I know psychologically that that's bad for you. You're not enjoying your meal, but it just reminded me. And instinctively, I want to say, how will your body digest something that your mind is saying no? But the physiological textbook, Guide in Physiology chapter on digestion, says in print now, is the secretory or digestive secretion response is more, robust when it's food that the person likes versus doesn't like. So we're literally now, it's proven that we're going to be setting ourselves up for indigestion if we're forcing ourselves to eat stuff we don't enjoy.
We started looking at how to improve stomach acid. The first thing that's online and that you would start reading about is that the first phase of digestion, the 3, is called the cephalic phase, right? And this is sort of pre-digestion. It's like your stomach is getting ready to digest. It's expecting food. And one of the strongest triggers for this is the smell and taste of food. So there's the smell and sight of food, sorry. So if your food looks good on a plate and it smells good, your stomach just starts to expect that food is coming. And then it starts secreting acid in anticipation of the food. Correct. So if you're working and you've not stopped working and you have like a bowl of food next to you at lunchtime and you're just eating mindlessly, you've actually almost entirely skipped a full phase of digestion. And then you complain of indigestion, right? Or bad food. You're blaming the wrong thing. I think that's what you need to look at. Second small thing, and very unscientific, but pattern and correlation that we've started seeing, and it's extremely noteworthy. We get the most complaints of indigestion on from a certain area, right? So let's say we're studying Bombay, and the city is extremely cloudy on a particular day. It shouldn't have been on that day, right? I'm talking about, imagine rains in October, for example, right? It's just a completely errant. And suddenly people start complaining, hey, aaj aapka juice ne kaam nahi kiya. Right? There's no logical explanation for this yet, right? But it's a very noticeable jump. And it's not happened once or twice, especially now, given the number of odd weather events we're having, we can track this quite a lot. And we've seen this time and time again. We don't have an explanation for this. What we know is that weather affects us. It's just true, right? We know that the way we digest in summers and winters is very different. This is proven. But how a single day change affects us, there's no logical answer to this yet. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's not just about doing everything right, eating the right amount of protein, or being completely mindful. Sometimes there's more to it than we realize, and the only way you can get to it is by, like you said, just being totally mindful about your processes, right? If on a cloudy day you're not feeling as hungry, but you're used to eating a certain amount, you want to, dabao almost all of that food in. Maybe your body wasn't ready on that day to eat that much. Maybe you didn't need it. So like I said, what I'm talking about is 100% anecdotal. This is absolutely not scientifically proven. But if you start seeing patterns and correlations, right, it should make you think that there is something else at play, and it's probably worth keeping in mind, if not directly addressing.
I agree. And, scientific thinking should start from observing anecdotes to say, why is this outlier happening? What is this? Is there a signal here? And then get curious to build the research or the experiments to test the theory and then prove or disprove the theory. But we need to take account of anecdotes because there might be something sitting in that unproven, unknown space. So you just covered the effect of weather. I think you also kind of mean to say sunlight, which is what we agree on is, sunlight affecting gut. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, of a new age experiment that maybe we'll have 10 years from now where we could wear personal sunlight exposure meters. I'm just making up a sci-fi experiment, and like you have a smartwatch, you'll have a natural light detection gadget, which will then translate into, here's what we think your sleep is going to be like today. Here's what we think your digestion is going to be like today.
Here's how much vitamin D you made today. Sure.
Yeah, look at the ways we could check how being in natural sunlight is going to impact your body clock. And so fantastic.